Good morning, mathematicians. Today we'll be working on lesson 9.1, fractions, decimals, and percents. Our objective or learning target today is to rename fractions as decimals and percents and vice versa. Let's get started with our math message. It says write the following fractions as decimals: 1/10, 32 hundredths, 7 tenths, and 9 hundredths. But just to review before we start, we know if we have a number like 0.725, the 0 is in our ones place, the 7 is now in thisville, so it's in our tenths, the 2 is in our hundredths, and the 5 is in our thousandths. So keep that in mind as you're writing out the decimals. Looking at that first one, 1/10, I can use the square to help me out, and I can see the square as my whole is split into 10 equal parts. So if I shaded, it said 1 out of 10, or 1 fractional part, that would represent my fraction. What decimal equals the same as 1/10? Yeah, if you said 0.1 or 1/10, you are correct. Now let's take a look at our other one that is in the tenths, so 7 tenths. In order to do this, I would have to shade in now 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of my longs to represent the fractional part of 7 tenths. What would my decimal be for 7 tenths? Yeah, again, if you said 0.7 or 7 tenths, you are correct. Now let's take a look at our square split into 100 equal pieces. If I shaded in just one of the small pieces, what would my fraction be? Yes, it would be 1/100th, because there's one shaded in out of 100 total pieces. And that would be the same as 0.01, because there's no tenths. I don't have one long shaded in, but there is 1 in the 100th shaded in. So let's take a look now at 32 hundredths. I know that one of these rows is equal to 10, so I could shade in 1, 2, 3 of these rows to equal 30, and then I still need 2 more to get my 32. So that represents 32 out of 100 for my fraction. How would I write that as a decimal? If you said 0.32 or 32 hundredths, you are correct. And finally, let's take a look at 9 hundredths. I know to represent this on my grid, I need to shade in 9 of the squares, so that's almost to the top. And I could write that as 0.09, because as we can see, we're still not up to 1 full tenth, so there's nothing in our tenth spot, but there are 9 out of 100, so 9 in our hundredth spot. Now I would like you to turn to page 203 in your math journal. We can see on this page that the whole that's being used is a large square, and numbers 1 through 4, we can see that it's in tenths, and also numbers 5 and 6, and then numbers 7 and 8 are in hundredths. So let's take a look at number 1. It says 2 tenths of the square is shaded, and we can see that right here. How many tenths? We just said that. 2 tenths are shaded. And then what would I need to fill in for my decimal? Correct. 0.2 or 2 tenths. Looking at number 2, we see on our drawing up here that half of the drawing is shaded. Right over here. How many tenths is that equal to? Show me on your fingers. Good. 5 tenths. And then it says 1/2 is equal to blank tenths. We could do that a couple of different ways. One of the ways is just how we did it, where we counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We know 5 tenths. But we also know equivalent fractions, and we know that to get to tenths, we would have to multiply this 2 times 5. So we would do the same on the top to get our 5 over there. So then our decimal is 0.5, or 5 tenths. Go ahead and try numbers 3 through 6 now for tenths with your math partner. So it says 1/5 is shaded for number 3. Whoops. Who can help me out with the answer? How many tenths? And then 1/5 is equal to blank tenths is equal to 0. Blank. Yeah. 2 tenths. 1/5 is equal to 2 tenths, or 0.2, which is also said as 2 tenths. Who can help me out with number 4 by filling in the correct answers? Yep, there are 4 tenths. 2/5 is equal to 4 tenths is equal to 4 tenths. Now who can help me with number 5? 3/5 is equal to 6 tenths is equal to 6 tenths. And lastly, who can help me with number 6? 4/5 is equal to 8 tenths is equal to 8 tenths written with the decimal place. Now we can take a look at the bottom of the page. We see over here that 1/100th is filled in, which is the same as 1/100th over here. Now let's take a look at number 7. We see that 1/4 of the square is shaded. 1/4 is equal to blank out of 100. We could either count, or we could know what 100 divided into 4 equal parts is and how much is in each part. We know that 25 out of 100 is the same as 1/4. And I could write that as 0.25, or 25 hundredths for my decimal. Go ahead and try number 8 with your math partner. Who can help me out with number 8? 3/4 is equal to 75 hundredths is equal to 75 hundredths. Now you can turn to Math Journal, page 248. The directions on this page say, fill in the 100% box for each example. Show the percent by shading the 10 by 10 grid. Then, write other names for the percent next to the grid. So today we're going to use the grid to represent percents. Let's take a look at our example. It says last season Duncan made 62% of his basketball shots. And we can see here that the 100% would be represented for if he made all of his shots, he would have made 100%. But here it says he made 62%. And we know percent means out of 100. So here we could shade in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 1 and 2 boxes in our square. And that is 62 out of every 100. And the fraction name for that is 62 out of 100. And the decimal name is 0.62, or 62 hundredths. Let's take a look now at number 1. We're going to have to fill in the example on the line. Alright, everybody should copy this next example with me in your own math journals. It says Jim answered 76% of problems correct on his math test. Let's take a look at our 100% box now. It has nothing in it, But we need to think of, well, what would 100% be? If Jim only answered 76% of problems correct, 100% would be all of the problems correct on the math. So let's go ahead and write all of the problems. On the math test. Our next step would then be to shade in 76% of our square. Go ahead and do that now, and if you get done, you can fill out these three parts. That is blank out of every 100, fraction name, blank out of 100, and decimal name. Your shading should look somewhat like this, but hopefully a bit neater. And then it should say that is 76 out of every 100. Fraction name is 76 out of 100. Decimal name would be 76 hundredths, written 0.76. Let's try one more example. Again, let's all make sure we fill out the percent example. This time, let's do 33% of students at Spring School speak Spanish. This time, what would we fill in our 100% box? Go ahead and whisper to your partner now. Yeah, 100% would be all students at Spring School. Go ahead and do the rest of this problem on your own. Your square should look somewhat like this, and then you should have, this is 33 out of every 100, fraction name is 33 hundredths, and decimal name is 33 hundredths. I've noticed that lately some of us have been getting lazy about using our learning journeys, so I would like everybody to take theirs out right now and make sure we put in today's date at the top. So everybody should have 3/27. And we need to make sure that we have this out as we're doing our math so that we can check off everything as we go. Everyone already did page 203, so we should check that off. And we did 248, but we still have to do 249 and 250. And we also need to make sure we finish math boxes 9-1. If you finish all three of those things and you have them checked off on your learning journey, if you're in Activity B, you can go on ahead to Units 9 and 10 Blend Space Practice A. And if you're Activity C, you can go on to Units 9 and 10 Blend Space Practice D and E. Make it a great day.